Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to see letter writing. As we already know that we have two papers in Cambridge English language. Paper 1 is writing and paper 2 is reading. In paper 1, as you can see, there are two sections. Section 1 is directed writing and section 2 is creative writing. Today we are going to talk about letter writing, which is a part of directed writing. That is the section 1 of paper 1. Here you will have to fulfill a task. A task will be given to the students, and the task can be a letter, report, school magazine, news article, newspaper article, brochure or leaflet, or speech writing. So these are different types of tasks that can be given, and you have to, there is no choice in section 1, and you have to attempt this. So today we are going to start with letter writing. You have written many letters before as well, but we have to see the considerations that the CIE examiner expects you when you are doing this section or this part of your paper. First of all, the first question is the format of the letters. In the previous classes, you have been concerned with the formats of the letters like examination hall, city ABC, date, subject line, salutation, main body of the letter, then complimentary close and date and signatures. In CIE, the examiner is not concerned with the format of the letter. You will not be penalized for the format of the letter. Whenever you are given a task to write a letter, simply start with the salutation, dear sir or dear ma'am. You do not need to write the subject line, you do not need to write the address, you do not need to uh, think that whether the address should be written on the left side or the right side, or should the letter be written in the blocked form or semi-blocked form, because CIE examiner is only concerned with the content of the letter that you produce in the paper. So the format of the letters are not important when it comes to marking. You simply start with the salutation, dear sir or dear madam. That salutation will also be given to you in the directions of the question. Whether you need to start with dear sir or dear madam or dear friend or dear parents or dear father or dear mother or dear aunt or whatever. So that will be given to you. So you simply have to start with the salutation and then have to focus on the task that is given to you and the main body of the letter, the language of your letter, the grammatical composition, the accuracy of the grammar. All these things you have to see when you're writing a letter. The total marks of the letter are 30. So the best answer to the format of the letter is that, as you can see, the best answer is that CIE examiners are not concerned with the format at all. Try to begin with the salutation, dear sir and dear madam. This is called the salutation. Secondly, you will uh, the examiner is concerned with how the candidate begins the letter and structures, and it would not make much of a difference in his marking. Do not waste time thinking where to write the address. Just begin. As I told that the format of the letter is not important. You just begin your letter. Do not exceed the word limit. The word limit is 200 to 300 words in letter writing and directed writing. Make sure that you fall in between this limit and do not exceed it. Focus on your audience. This is very important. There can be formal letters, there can be informal letters. The language of the formal writing will be different from the language that is used in the informal writing. I have a lesson, I have a lecture on YouTube on the channel relating to the formal writing and informal writing. What are the things that you need to consider when you are writing formal, or what are the things that you need to consider when you are writing informal. So focus on your audience. If obviously if you're writing it to a principal, if you're writing to your teacher, or if you're writing it to a newspaper editor, then it is a formal letter. Or if you're writing a business letter, it is a formal letter. In that case, you need to know your audience. Obviously the audience, when you're writing a letter to a principal, the principal is the audience, so you have to be formal when you are communicating with the principal. So that is very important, knowing your audience, focus on your audience, and use the appropriate register, use the appropriate language that suits the formal letter or the informal letter according to the situation. The fifth very important point is always answer the rubrics mentioned in the question. There are three rubrics given. I will show you the example of this as well shortly, that how those three rubrics or 3 points or three tasks are given to you that you need to cover. Keep your vocabulary simple. Before you begin, you must be aware of the rules applied for formal and informal register. For example, again I am repeating that I have a lesson on this YouTube channel relating to formal writing and informal writing. You can go through that lecture. And for example, just one example is given, that in formal writing we use contractions. What are contractions? Can't, shouldn't, haven't, hasn't, weren't, wasn't. These are the contractions, the contracted forms. Can't is the contracted form of cannot. Shouldn't is the contracted form of should not. So in informal letters you can use contractions, but in formal letters you cannot use contractions. End your letter nicely, include the complimentary clause, yours faithfully, yours sincerely according to the salutation, and proofread your work. Now our task is today will be to see an example of this. We will be doing this directed writing. This is section 1. This is from your past paper that I'm showing you, 1 hour 30 minutes, two sections. Section 1 is directed writing, as I told you, and in this case you are given a letter to write. This is the task given to you. Listen very carefully. Every year the older students in your school invite adults to come and talk about why they are successful in their careers. You decide to write a letter to a well-known personality, for example from a television or business, to persuade him or her to come and speak to the students. Write a letter. You must include the following. These are the three rubrics given, 1, 2, 3. These are the three tasks given to you that you need to cover, you must cover in order to get good marks. The first thing that you will cover in your letter is an invitation to speak to the student and date and venue for the meeting. You need to tell them where they have to come and when they have to come. What you admire about the personality and his or her work. Obviously, you will mention that personality as well, because that personality is an ex-student from your school and he or she has studied here. So, what you like about that personality or what you admire about that personality, this is the second task that you will cover in that letter. How the students benefit from these visits. They will be motivated, or they will get an inspiration from these personalities, and they will also be try to be successful in their lives. So whatever the benefits you think the students can get, you will mention here. Cover all these points in detail. You should make your letter polite and persuasive. The tone should be polite. Obviously you're writing to a renowned personality, and it is very much a formal letter, and your tone should be polite and it should be persuasive as well. आपने persuade भी करना है. You should persuade that personality so that he or she does not deny coming to your school. Start with letter with dear sir if that personality is a male, or ma'am if that personality is a female, and remember to provide a suitable ending. This is the example of this. I will be providing you this document. You will go through this example, but you will write your own letter in your copies and then show me your work. If you have any questions, you can ask. This is your task. That's it for now.